What's up? Welcome back to my channel, or for the first time if you're new, I'm Sylvan, and today I'm going to be reacting to Durin's character trailer, A Story Born for This. I am very intrigued by that title. I'm curious to see if I can pull a meaning out of it once we're done with the trailer, but I'm getting ahead of myself there. I'm just excited to get into this. I'm just a tad late to this. I've been sick the last few days, but that has just made me more eager to get to this. So feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video, leave a comment on your thoughts, and consider becoming a channel member if you want to support me just that little bit extra. And let's get into this. All right.
It's hard not to envy the characters in a fairy tale.
Yeah, immediately getting to the idea of his mother.
And getting there happily ever after.
Ooh, visually this is already strong.
These are tales where even lost souls can find their way back to the light.
Okay.
Where pain and misfortune can be cured.
I love that silhouette.
Wish. And all the twists and turns become
the quill writing away.
Than a footnote in an otherwise perfect ending.
Otherwise perfect ending. Okay. We're building. I love this sort of non-space that he's in right now. And I love the imagery of the sort of darker side is cool. Ooh, fight the inner dark side type moment. I always love that kind of shit. I like that we're in a very sort of the fairy tale environment. All right, we just get in a straight up fight scene? Hell yeah. Ooh, the impact frames. Oh? I like the mixing of imagery of him and the quill. Ooh, the dragons in the fog.
But you, my child, born under a pen, why should your fate not transcend these pages?
Back to Mini Durin, back to his origin.
So, you seek to offer him a different outcome?
Oh, we have two voices
as long
speaking.
As I still have enough time. Don't worry. We'll all help. Daring indeed.
The Hexen Circle.
Then again, the most
Albano.
worthwhile experiments always are.
Okay. Ooh, seeing a bit of that moment of him awakening. Oh, and the new lines are written in a different color. Okay, the story continues. He's not trapped in this story. Okay, I love the visual language here.
Witness my great undertaking.
Okay, the snap, the heart restored.
It's done.
And all that just to cook a fish.
We just gotta finish it before Master Gene sees.
Ooh. I love ending with the art like that. This is actually a really solid trailer, all things considered. It didn't like blow me out of my seat or anything, but everything was really cohesive and strong nonetheless. I feel like there's a lot for me to get into here. So going through this chronologically, immediately from the first shot, we're already having references back to Simulanka. First and foremost, with these mini pointed star things. Those were all over Simulanka, and they actually were also in his teaser. I didn't really call them out then, but I did notice them, and they once again come up here, and they serve as this interesting visual language to tie back to Simulanka, to Durin's origin, or at least the Durin that has come to be. But that's not where it ends in this trailer, where that's sort of largely speaking the most visual language we got of Simulanka in the teaser. It continues on very frequently here. As we get our first line, we follow this quill down to a page, something that has served to represent Durin's mother in the past as well. So immediately what all this does alongside this first line is serve to tie us back to his origin first and foremost. That is where we're beginning. It's hard not to envy the characters in a fairy tale. I feel like there is quite a lot of importance to that line, because there is a truth to it. We read stories, we watch stories, we take in stories, take in the characters, learn about them, come to understand them, try to put ourselves in their shoes often. In many cases, wish that we could do the same things they do, experience the same things they do. There is, for many stories, an inherent underlying envy to the experiencing of the story. But this all serves in immediate contrast to Durin as a person. He is a character from a fairy tale, born as a character in a story and nothing more. To that character in that fairy tale, do they envy us, the people beyond the story, whose fate is not already written in ink? It immediately just sets up this strong dichotomy between what often is the experience of reading a story and stepping into the shoes of its characters and that of the characters themselves. But as we step into this sort of ambiguous space within the fairy tale, everything with almost this vaguely drawn vibe to it. The concept explored in the first line is continued, always turning fate on its head and getting there happily ever after. It continues that contrast, that conflict, because yes, often the heroes will be the ones who turn the tide, get a happy ending, achieve everything they want, overcome whatever faults they have, but that is not every character. That is not the case for the villain, tragic or otherwise, often in these tales. The heroes will always be heroes and the villains will always be villains, and the side characters barely exist. To be one of those people who do not get the happily ever after, who does not get to turn fate on its head, it's very easy to find yourself trapped in that. And it's in this moment where visually we get a flash of several shots. The most pertinent, I think, is of this one, where it's these two spheres, these two motes that break apart from one singular mote, which is intriguing to me, especially because immediately after we are shown the visual of the heart emblem that is on Durin's chest. It speaks to me that these are the two Durins inside him, one being Mini Durin, the storybook character who rose above it to become something more with a little help from a few people, and the original Durin, the monster who would destroy the world. But the fact that it is one becoming two rather than two becoming one is what intrigues me here. The entire point of paralogism was to fuse the two, to elevate one to humanity by chaining the other to it. And yet here it is separating, not conjoining. Given that throughout this trailer we have the visual of Durin fighting a dark reflection of himself, perhaps this is to express that though he has become one entity, the darker side of Durin is still in there, volatile, fighting against him, almost trying to take over. He has this distinct other side to him that he doesn't always have the capacity to suppress, or must fight back whenever he taps into those powers. I think that's one possibility. But if I'm to get a little bit more out there, throughout this trailer, there is the framing of this being Durin in the story, and only later, near the end, do we see the visual of him becoming the man he is today. So though I think my initial interpretation is probably more accurate, I do feel like there could be some merit to looking at this perhaps as the idea of Durin being this singular entity, this one idea, this monster, that then a second being is pulled out of and created that is the Durin of the story, the Durin of Simulanka, Mini Durin, once he would eventually become. This monster turned into a pitiable creature that just wants friends, who then is able to ascend out of that story and make something of themselves. It is making something new, a second Durin, out of the one identity. Despite being his own person as Mini Durin, he is inextricably tied to the original Durin as an identity, and that is even expressed in the fact that he once again comes to be a singular entity after paralogism. And yet throughout all of this imagery, we just continue on the thought process that we began with via the lines. These are tales where lost souls can find their way back to the light. And that begins to actually touch more on Durin himself, Mini Durin more specifically. I believe that describing him as a lost soul is quite accurate. He was seen as this frightening monster lashing out at everyone, but in reality, he just wanted a friend. He just wanted to be like everyone else, and yet everyone was afraid of him. But in this fairy tale story, despite being this lost soul, despite being this monster, when the protagonists, the heroes, arrive, our good old friend Scaramouche, he is able to be pulled into the light and stop being that monster. That's the first time where, rather than there being this stark contrast going on between the character's experience and the words being spoken, it actually more so aligns. But there is still this tension as even with that, even as the lines continue to talk about this, we once again are shown flashes of the inner dark dragon suppressed underneath, the other half to Durin. But it's in these stories where these lost souls can find the light, where pain and misfortune, notably that is when we get this next glimpse of the darker Durin, can be cured with a simple wish. It's a hopeful way of thinking of things. It's an enviable way for things to go, but that's where this contrast returns. Though it would be accurate to describe Durin as a lost soul brought back into the light, that darkness, that pain and misfortune, is not entirely gone by a simple wish. He only was able to become human by embracing it, by accepting it into him and holding it all together as one being. It took plenty of wishes and miracles to achieve that, but it did not wipe away the pain and misfortune. And this tension, this contrast continues with the next line saying, "And all the twists and turns become nothing more than a footnote on an otherwise perfect ending." We return to that fairy tale perfection that is not accurate to life. All that pain and suffering, all those twists and turns can be pushed aside. They're done now. It's over. We've made it to the happy ending. But that's not how life works. Perhaps in the story it could be, but having gone beyond the story, you don't shake away the pain and complexity of life that easily. And it's with that final note that we enter this battlefield within Simulanka, or at least something using the same visual language as it. It is much more likely more a interpretive, representative expression of the inner battle within Durin. Yes, while a fairy tale can have a perfect ending, where all the pain and misfortune can just be whisked away, in reality it is a constant battle. It is a constant effort to stay in the light, to stay as a good person, to not let those dark impulses, that darker nature, overtake you. In many ways, it almost steps into concepts of redemption and atonement. Though I would not necessarily consider Durin, as we know him, as mini Durin into this modern Durin, to be someone who necessarily is in need of redemption. The closest that he was needing of that was during Simulanka, and that was all squared away by the fact that it was discovered he just wanted a friend, he was lonely. And by rectifying that, everything was solved and he was able to help the people of Simulanka and then eventually exit the story and become real. But once again, with that idea that Durin is a singular identity, two beings, one identity, the Durin we know is pulling, dragging, screaming, and fighting the dark, evil Durin, the dragon that nearly destroyed Mondstadt, with him into the light. And alongside all of this, something I very much appreciate and find interesting is that as this battle of the inner self begins, there is no hesitation on Durin's face. There is no hesitance, there is no reluctance. He just stares down his darker half, summons his blade pointed towards them, and prepares for battle. He has done this song and dance before. It is an effort to hold back this darker side, but it is a task he has done plenty of times before and will continue to do whenever necessary. Whenever he needs this power, he will tap into it, but hold it back from overtaking him. It's very interesting within the context of this being a battle with the inner dark side. As often in anime and stuff like that, when there are these battle with the inner demon or that kind of thing, often the way that it is concluded, the way that someone becomes more powerful, is by making some kind of deal with them or embracing them in some way, where this really doesn't seem like that. There is a certain level of acceptance of this entity, of this darker side. He has brought it into his very being so it cannot hurt others and so that he can become truly a person. But there does not seem to be any understanding between the two. There does not seem to be any agreement reached. It is purely an inner beast, a monster that just seeks to wreak havoc, that is being fought back whenever necessary by Durin. And yet he is also not afraid to use that power. He is not afraid to tap into the monstrous, dark, abyssal energy that is wielded by Durin the monster. But throughout all of this fight, we have this intercutting of the battle itself and the quill writing the story, which effectively serves to maintain the tie to Durin's origin, though I feel this battle is more representative of his modern state of holding back the darkness while also tapping into it to be able to live how he wants to. The interspersing with the Quill writing his story, and as we'll get to later, the story being taken over by someone else, and getting glimpses of the aid he has received to get to this point, it serves well to show the journey he has gone on. And though I don't feel necessary to go shot by shot throughout the entire fight, I will touch on this moment that is just incredibly visually strong of the two Durins having been flung up into the clouds, continuing their battle, only glimpsed in these roars of lightning to reveal these silhouettes of titanic dragons circling each other and fighting. It's a glimpse into the inner power, the inner ferocity that exists within Durin. It is not just that Durin is a kind, humble, gentle soul that is holding back this dark monster. No, they both have that ferocity, they both have that power, they both have that strength they can tap into. It's just that one cannot control it and does not want to control it. One wishes to lash out, while the other wishes to live amongst humanity. But it's here, as this fight comes to a vague conclusion, with Durin falling through the pages that write his own story back into his original mini-Durin form, we hear the words of his mother directed directly to him. But you, my child, why should your fate not transcend these pages? Why should you be tied down by the story I have written? Why must you be chained to the fate I have written for you? You are your own being, your own person. No matter if you are a character in a story or truly made of flesh and blood, a being of the real world, you should have your own ability to choose your fate. And once this barrier has been broken, once it changes from narration to a direct statement to Durin, suddenly more voices come in, that of other members of the Hexen Circle. So you seek to offer him a different outcome, one says. I struggle to place the voices because I'm terrible with voices. As long as I still have enough time, as we see a glimpse of the Quill within this vision of Durin flying through this fairy tale, followed by, of course, Alice making herself known. Don't worry, we'll all help. Until the final voice, I believe to be Reindoter, just based on the fact that we then see Albedo and the word experiment is used. Daring indeed, but then again, the most worthwhile experiments always are. It both serves as a reference to Durin's origin as a monster created of a daring experiment by Reindotir, as well as serving as a transition point to Albedo and the daring experiment that he enacts alongside the help of others to finally achieve the goal, the dream of Durin's mother, to finally let him make his own fate, transcend the story, become something new. And it's with this that as we get a glimpse of the alchemical experiment that was used to form his no body and fuse the evil Durin into him, that the story is taken over by a golden ink. The pen rises, and this new ink writes itself, perfectly expressing that at this point, with the aid of Albedo and many others, Durin has transcended the fate written for him by his mother. He has gone beyond a character in a story with a predetermined end. Now, he is writing his own fate. Nothing is writing it but himself. And it's here that we finally return to the battle between Durin and his dark reflection, now introducing this different visual aesthetic of the alchemical transmutation imagery, seemingly wielded by Durin, a blinding light that makes the dark reflection look away and cover their eyes. And with a snap of Albedo's fingers, the experiment is complete, the chains of fate are broken, and our Durin is victorious. It is here where the fight much more takes on the implication of being that moment when this transmutation occurred. Through the efforts of Albedo, as well as the determination of Durin, he becomes one being who can wield the power of his darker side. At which point, the battle almost takes on a different sense of being. It's as if the battle is occurring within the midst of this experiment to answer the question, which side of Durin will take control, will be born anew? Will it be the monster that wishes to destroy everything? Or will it be the person who wishes to live amongst everyone? And in the end, the one who wishes to have a new fate, the one who wishes to escape the story that has been written for them, the one who wishes for something new, the one with backing from other people who believe in them, they are the one who stands victorious. And through that, this broken, fragmented, crystalline heart is made anew. As we then enter the real world, a mundane moment, him using his power to cook a fish, not to destroy or harm, but to make some food, to elevate a moment with someone else, even if that someone is Klee, a destructive being in her own right. And that's effectively where the trailer ends. But the last thing I'd like to note before finishing this video out is it seems like in this moment, Durin has his updated design, which leads me to think that perhaps some of the imagery and visuals of this trailer are actually not speaking to Durin's past experiences, but his future ones. The ones we will see in his character quest. As we were told in the special program that he would have this subtle change in design after his quest. So to see it here at the end of his trailer is interesting for that very reason. But I don't know. There's no real way to know until we get to the quest itself. So I'm going to leave things there. Feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, leave a comment on your thoughts, and very special thanks to all of my channel members, including Desaize and Pokelove101 at the normal tier, and Kono Nano at the cool person tier. Really appreciate your support, as always, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye!